Yeah. I thought it'd be kind of fun to stay in the dorms, but you know, I know Rue always stays at the Ritz-Carlton in Marina Del Rey. But Beck will bring his wife as the designated driver,
Tom Beck.
so he can drink heartily.
He is a city councilman, right?
Yeah, and I think that's my joke. I think he just got off of it. He was mayor a couple times too, of the city. Did you get a chance to read the summary? Okay. I'm bad. I still print everything. I can't believe how cold it is here.
Sure, I have.
Oh, you know what? It doesn't have room numbers on it. I saw it. It was on the.
I have a photo. Which one are? Let's see.
Great.
I took a picture of the percentage.
Very smart. I
So
am
this
orange.
is your orange. Okay.
Scroll over to the
I don't know what room
I
that
think
is.
it's
So.
U11. Team
Oh.
U11. So scroll up.
Oh,
There we go.
and then you're welcome to manipulate as much as you need. Yeah.
Oh, Andy Ron is judging.
I think I'm there.
Cool. He's head of the M school.
Oh, I think that says 302. Here you go.
You'd look
We
at
are
him and you would
302.
never know he's a
We are
professor.
Amazon drone delivery.
He looks like he
Yeah.
came out of an
Awesome.
advertising firm.
Hi everyone, my name's Madison.
Hi.
I'm just an IBES staff and I'm gonna make sure you have everything good to go before you start.
All right.
Cool.
Are
Alright,
all the
judging
judges
form.
present right now?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
so we have all the judges. And hi, how are you? I'm Madison, I'm an IBES staff. I just wanna give you a couple reminders for your presentation. The person who's speaking, make sure you stand inside the blue tape so the camera will catch you because we're using Echo 360 and it only captures what's within the blue tape. Then also, to set up your presentation, if you have a USB drive, you can plug it into the silver dongle, or you can pull it up on the cloud on the keyboard. That's it.
And if anything, if you need us to turn our heads away as you activate your presentation, if there's anything with your university, we're operating with we aren't hearing your university, we aren't identifying ourselves either, so just give a heads up if you know there's anything that's popping up on that first page or anything, so that we just turn away before you get into your presentation.
Great.
There you go. Yes. Good one.
Sure. You do just log in.
I did know College Station, but I have no idea where the hell Rockford is.
Should we access the presentation through the cloud?
I heard somebody say that if
Yeah.
you did it in the cloud, it showed your university name. I don't know. We won't look
Yeah, I won't, yeah.
yet. You can try
You're
it.
welcome to like,
It's right.
yeah,
It's
kind of,
part of our emails.
yeah, so I just got a chill. It's that weather outside. I still feel like I feel it in my bones. I'm not used to this. Like, need a little space heater under the table.
Yeah, really. Well, also, I find that if you're tired, your body temperature falls. You get cold a lot easier.
That might explain our 5-ish.
Yeah, exactly.
Felt like, oh, this is a little early today.
My voice is usually lower too.
I just thought you wanted to be like June Nelson. I was at Gene's house last Sunday.
You guys are good to look up now.
Okay.
Pictures.
So should we
They're
all
really pretty.
stand in the blue circle or only a few?
If you want to,
I think we don't.
don't screen too much, don't worry about it. Whoever's speaking,
So, like,
just
me
make sure
and-
you stand in a blue box,
Yeah.
in a blue box.
Sure.
Good luck.
Awesome. So our presentation is reimagining the delivery experience and taking off with Amazon drones.
Okay. So what we'll do first, we'll just invite you to just briefly introduce yourselves to the group. Just first name, as I mentioned, don't state your university name at all. We'll introduce ourselves to you two, and then I'll read you shortly just some opening comments, kind of our guideposts for our session time together today. But
Awesome. So we can hop to the next
So
slide.
we have a slide for our introduction.
Yeah.
okay.
So my name is Aiden Cooper. I'm a financial analysis.
My name is Kyla Gron. I'll be the legal director.
Okay.
I'm Isabella Lamb. I'm the legal and ethics analyst.
My name is Marcus Campbell. I'm the sustainability analyst.
My name is Val Zoe and I will be the financial analyst.
All right. Well, good to have you all here. And as academic advisor.
Yes.
All right. Nice to have you here. Nice to have you here, Mark. And I'm Jason West. I'm a Chief Strategy Officer at Synalysis Group, a marketing consulting firm. And I'm one of the senior judges here with.
And I'm the other senior judge. I'm Gail Bernstein, and I'm a retired executive vice president of PNC Bank, and the unit I worked for. I opened the LA office, and I financed mostly buyouts, so acquisition finance.
Hello, my name is Ivy Drawn. I work here at LMU for the law school and the finance fiscal affairs department.
I'm Steve Rhodes. I was an investment banker. I teach and had a lot of experience in the federal government.
And a former ambassador. Come on, don't.
Come on.
Former U.S. ambassador. No, once an ambassador, always an ambassador, never former.
Okay. Well, in the next part of our competition, you're going to take a fictional business identity and assign a fictional business identity to the judges here. So please make sure that everyone knows who you are as well as who we are, and I know you did that with their introductions of your roles here. You'll have 25 minutes to describe the legal, financial, and ethical dimensions of the problem and to recommend a solution that pastors muster on all three accounts. During this time, you get to present to us uninterrupted. Following that time, we'll have 10 to 15 minutes where we will still be in character, so to speak, and we'll be asking you questions based on your presentations. Following that, all of our identities come off, and we have about 10 minutes just for some conversation, some feedback, any questions you may have from us, just to kind of level set after the presentation. But before you get started, take a deep breath. You've worked very hard to prepare for today. Relax, and we're excited to have you here
Awesome.
and hear about your case.
Great. And we are Dionysian Consulting is our consulting firm. So we want to start our presentation with the moment that Jeff Bezos announced this electrifying objective to revolutionize delivery system as we know it through drone delivery. Now this is a segment from a 60 Minutes episode that aired on December 1st, 2013, in which Bezos announced the program and more importantly, sort of elucidated his motive in creating drone deliveries.
With the drones possibly taking flight in the not-too-distant future, Amazon is raising the stakes in the race for faster delivery. Jeff Bezos believes the company has no choice.
Companies have short lifespans, Charlie, and Amazon will be disrupted one day. Then you worry about that? I don't worry about it because I know it's inevitable. Companies come and go, and the companies that are the shiniest and most important of any era, you wait a few decades and they're gone. And your job is to make sure that you delay that date. I would love for it to be after I'm dead.
So with this motive to keep Amazon undisturbed from this breakneck pace in this technological era that we find ourselves in, and more importantly to create something that even outlives Bezos himself, Prime Air was born, which is the drone delivery branch of Amazon. And it has an explosive goal, which is to deliver light packages to customers all over the world within 30 minutes, which will in turn ensure a more sustainable future. Now, unfortunately, the lifespan of Prime Air thus far has been anything but explosive, and has in fact faced relentless setbacks since its inception 9 years ago. Now, like any truly revolutionary idea, which prime air no doubt is, we should afford the engineers some luxury and time to develop their ideas and work through the kinks. But when we really look at the timeline of this program, we see an entirely inconsistent philosophy throughout this 9-year span in tackling the pressing legal, ethical, sustainable, and financial concerns that plague and threaten the continued existence of the program as a whole. We feel that Amazon is too overly enamored with the futuristic potential of this technology, drone deliveries, and has instead chosen to neglect readily useful applications of drone technology that we've already created. They've stuck to far-fetched intentions, such as 1 million drone deliveries within the next 4 years, and only really focusing on urbanized 30-minute or less deliveries, which is entirely unfeasible. So over the course of this presentation, we hope to convince you that not only is this unfeasible in the modern landscape, but we should instead choose to use this drone technology in rural areas to help those in need that will benefit from it immediately. So here's Kyla with a legal analysis of the problems that plague drone deliveries.
So now we will analyze the legal implications of implementing drone technology into the delivery industry. So although Amazon Prime Air has the potential to revolutionize the way that goods are transported, it also raises several potential legal issues, such as airspace regulation, liability issues, and privacy. So, one of the main legal issues Amazon Prime Air is facing is with the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, regulations. The FAA has strict rules governing the use of drones for commercial deliveries as well as Amazon deliveries. So, the FAA in 2016 set a new rule in place for commercial drone operations, stating that operators must first obtain a remote pilot license, register the drone with the FAA, and also, lastly, to follow specific procedure regulations. And within the past decade, Amazon Prime Air has been unable to attain their type certification in order to operate these drones over open airways and people. So, as well as that, they've been unable to really get to operate these drones in a way that they've been imagining to. So they have very strict FAA rules regarding commercial drones, and they have not only not received the type certification, there have been 2 big exemptions that they're having to operate currently under, which is 18601B and 18602B, restricting heavily on their Part 135 authorization, which is what allows companies to fly their aircrafts over anything that is on-demand air delivery. Another potential issue that they're facing is liability issues. With liability issues, they're facing anything that has to do with, drones can malfunction, they can crash. So that poses huge liability when it comes to any potential damages, when it comes to injuries with people or properties. And if they were to sustain these incidents, it can pose a lot of potential damages that they will have to cover the costs for. Also, there can be potential lawsuits. So if they are found violating any of the regulations governing the use of drones, for example, with airspace restrictions, licensing requirements, as well as safety regulations, they could have a huge, hefty liability on their hands if any of these were to be violated. So, our solution would be to really mitigate these legal issues by minimizing the use to rural areas. So recently, with much anticipation, the 18601B exemption came in for Amazon in November of 2022, and a lot of the Prime Air people were not expecting their response. So for them to operate, they require special approval for all 3 of these, for flying over people, roadways, and 100 feet laterally from any person doing all phases of flight. Also, which is still in place, visual observers must keep in line of sight for all drones from launching to landing. To add, visual observers must constantly notify the pilots of any potential obstruction. So that could be animals, cars, anything that could be within that 100 feet laterally. They must always notify in order to protect any potential collisions from happening. And with all these different regulations that they must go through, we believe that it is very clear in order to fully mitigate on all levels legally, they need to reduce the use of these Amazon delivery drones to simply rural areas. And now we will go into the privacy aspect for legal.
So privacy is a huge deal with drones, and part of it is because drones innately require cameras to function. Now, of course, you can have AI navigating these drones, and AI will need to scan its surroundings. It'll constantly need to be surveilling the area in order to make sure that it's navigating the area correctly. But of course, right now, Amazon doesn't have AI with drones. They have human operators for drones at the moment. And of course, human operators are constantly looking at this footage being picked up by the live streamed cameras. And so this poses a lot of issues because drones can fly over private property, they can look over fences, they can honestly cause a lot of damage to American and Western trust in Amazon's dedication to privacy. So what are the legal and ethical implications of this? Amazon has a lot of questions that they need to answer regarding this. And yeah, most Western consumers heavily value privacy, despite an increasing lack of it in the modern world. We can just look at the TikTok bans. We can look at the Congress hearings with Facebook. Privacy has been a big issue nowadays, and it's becoming a bigger issue nowadays. Amazon needs to find a way to address these privacy concerns that many consumers have. And according to a Morning Consult survey in 2023, 71% of Americans have severe privacy concerns about drones. And this leads on to a Pew Research Center study that said that 54% of Americans, of course this was in 2017, where it was a newer technology, so people were even more hesitant about drones, but even then, 54% of Americans did not want drones flying near their houses or near neighborhood parks, which poses a big issue considering that it's a delivery service system. Now, how has Amazon addressed these issues? Well, currently they have 64 drone patents. However, not a single one mentions the word privacy, mentions any privacy framework. Despite this, there has been one patent filed for a surveillance system, where drones would constantly look at their consumer houses and see if there are possibly people stealing those packages, if there are broken windows that they want to alert the consumer about. And of course, there's another patent regarding, There's another patent regarding targeted ads where they could see if there's chipping paint, if there's a broken door hinge, if there is broken windows, of course, like I've mentioned, a broken hose, anything, where Amazon would then see that you have this, issues that you need to fix with your home and send ads about these products that might help you with this household issue. And of course, it's not as if there is a complete lack of privacy research in general. There have been universities talking about and creating privacy frameworks regarding UAVs, aka unmanned aerial vehicles, that talk about privacy frameworks that unfortunately Amazon has not really made their stance clear on. Additionally, it's increasingly important that Amazon starts to research privacy frameworks and starts to adequately address consumer concerns about privacy, because there is strict EU regulation. Amazon could face a 2% annual turnover in profit if there was a failure to comply with EU laws regarding UAVs. And this failure to comply with EU laws could even just be a few seconds of flying over unconsenting yards that are protected by fences and recording footage of that and seriously undermining what Amazon is even about and thoroughly, and of course the EU is pretty strict on data privacy laws compared to the US, and Amazon needs to create privacy frameworks regarding that. Additionally, the US hasn't exactly been lax about privacy laws in UAVs either. I mean, there was a Supreme Court case regarding Florida versus Riley, where they dismissed a case where police forces were police forces had a helicopter that filmed a suspect inside someone's home, but because it was within a fenced yard, the evidence was completely dismissed, and the case was thrown out in court because this was being filmed in someone's private yard. Now, of course, this is heavily related to Amazon protecting its private property. These drones can cost upwards of hundreds of thousands of dollars each drone. So Amazon, of course, surveils what's happening as well in order to go after any vandalizers and people who are damaging their property. Of course, because we've seen these cases where footage was dismissed because it was done in private property, that could seriously undermine the reason for why Amazon wants to be keeping footage of these incidents in the first place. Next slide, please. So Amazon has several obligations regarding privacy, and this is ethical and legal obligations. And Western consumers, citizens in general, just value and expect privacy in today's day and age, and drone cameras undermine this expectation if not operated correctly. Additionally, Amazon has a duty not to infringe on the privacy that they expect. It would also vastly undermine people's impression of Amazon. It could cause people to completely abandon the company due to them essentially what many Western consumers would think spying on their property. So in order to fix these issues, Amazon should refocus more efforts on improving their privacy systems, assuring consumers and non-consumers alike that they will not be overly infringing on people's rights to privacy, both for legal and ethical reasons. Now, next slide, please. So of course, there's another ethical concern, which is sustainability, and now as more companies are becoming more and more sustainable, Amazon has also taken this goal upon themselves, and now, of course, Amazon's reason for Prime Air has to do with sustainability as well, but we do have to ask if Prime Air is even sustainable in the first place. Now, of course, this is a complicated question, and I will pass this question on to Marcus, who is our sustainability expert.
Thank you, Isabella. So, drones have become a clear, sustainable option for delivery companies. This is for three main reasons. First, they use a cleaner energy source, which in the entire life cycle of a vehicle's emissions will cut out a large chunk of the feedstock production and feedstock transport emissions. In fact, drones actually, 99% of their emissions come from the vehicle cycle or the assembly of the drone before it flies. So during their lifetime emissions, they're very, very clean, and their smaller size means that even though their emissions come from their vehicle cycle when they're being assembled, they use less material resources to be produced. However, this doesn't mean that drones are always sustainable. When we're evaluating drones in urban settings, we want to evaluate their energy output in relation to other delivery methods. When we look at the kinds of diesel trucks that are used by USPS, we can see that they are more efficient than drones when they are delivering more than 15 packages per kilometer driven, based on this table from Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh. Thankfully, Amazon has invested in more than just drones as a way to deliver within urban areas. They've also invested in getting 100,000 electric vans on the roads by 2030, a number which can rival the USPS's current fleet of diesel trucks of 140,000. Electric vans are much more efficient than the diesel vans, only need to deliver about 5 packages per kilometer, or about 8 packages per mile per drone. So why is this relevant? Well, your average Amazon driver delivers about 180 to 200 packages per day, and the route is about 24 miles per day. This means that the amount of packages for an electric van needs to deliver to be able to reach this average route and stay sustainable is 192 packages, and that's perfectly within the range of the amount that your current drivers deliver. This means that in your average American city, electric vans are actually far more sustainable, or at least more sustainable than drones are. So let's also compare and contrast what it means to own a fleet of drones versus owning a fleet of electric vans. Drones, as Kyla had mentioned earlier, often crash into other cluttered airspaces, like telephone wires and whatnot. And once they are crashed, they have to be replaced, as it is too cost inefficient to repair them. Vans, on the other hand, can be repaired. And since drones have to be, whenever they are replaced, they have to re-incur the 99% emissions that comes from construction. Repairing vans over time can actually lead to being more sustainable. Drones have to travel directly to their source, to their the home that they're going to. They use all their energy that they have to go from hub to home and back. Vans, on the other hand, can use their whole energy source on an efficient route, using slow driving throughout the city and being more fuel efficient by turning off the engine when they're doing deliveries. Finally, drone lifespans are only about 10 months for your current Amazon drones, while the Amazon vans that you have been developing expected lifetime of about 7 to 10 years. And once they are out of commission, they can be broken down into parts and continue to use to sustain your fleet of electric vans. With all this in mind, we can see that our solution will lead to a resilient infrastructure that promotes inclusive and sustainable industrialization, as well as our solution will ensure that sustainable consumption patterns and production patterns are met, meeting the UN Sustainability Goals numbers 9 and 12. And next, I will be passing it off to Val, who will do our financial analysis of Reiner.
So first, I will be addressing the financial issues regarding Amazon's overachieving goals, and then I will be presenting the costs and calculations and showing you the feasibility of our solutions. So currently, the cost to build a singular drone is $146,000. In 2022, the cost per delivery by drone was $484. However, this cost does seem very high, and it is anticipated to drop to $63 by 2025. So regarding all of the numbers that I will be presenting, I will be referring to the United States. To account for future technological advancements, and the fact that the price to either build a drone or to deliver a package by drone will inevitably drop, I will be focusing on the $63 delivery fee. So in this situation where I use 5,000 drones rather than trucks to deliver packages, Amazon will lose $793 million. So while this is an unlikely scenario, and I'm giving Amazon a lot of leeway here, because to deliver 1 million packages versus the 13 million packages a day and using only 5,000 drones, this is a pretty reasonable number to just show how much money Amazon is truly losing here. So Amazon delivers 13 million packages a day. In suburban homes, they receive 8 million packages, urban homes receive 3.6 million, and rural homes only receive 1.4 million packages. If they used 20,000 drones rather than trucks, and they have to deliver 13 million packages a day, they would lose $5.98 trillion. So the solution is clear. Amazon should only deliver to rural homes, as it is only 11% of the packages in the United States. 11% of the 20,000 trucks would be 2,200 drones. Using that, they would save $5.9 trillion versus losing $5.98 trillion. Clearly, they should be only focusing on rural airways. As regarding to the $63 delivery fee, 95% of that is due to labor costs, So if we could have one person operate multiple drones at once, this could greatly cut the costs. And now you might be asking, what is going to happen to all of those delivery drivers? Why don't you just cut out drones in general if this is going to save so much money? So Amazon has 275,000 drivers worldwide, 75,000 delivery drivers in the United States. And in order to have continued stability in the industry, we need a smaller scale of implementation, meaning we only need to stick to rural areas. That means less disruption and less job displacement. Now, all of the calculations that I just presented, this is not regarding the maintenance fees. As Marcus said earlier, this is not regarding replacing drones at all. But even if I put all of those calculations in, that would just show you they would lose even more money than I presented.
So in overview, we really don't want to be dismissive towards the innovation that Amazon obviously has created with Prime Air. Drones are no doubt the future of delivery, but I guess our main goal here is to sort of bring Amazon back down to earth. This is kind of like a scientific idea and it's fun, but there's real cases in rural areas and there's people that need deliveries, and this can be a more efficient solution for all the reasons we've listed, and for those reasons, we should just direct drone deliveries to rural areas. Thank you.
Thank you. As the board of directors here, I'll start with first question for you. As I understood, there were a couple ethical components, and you started earlier in the presentation, did discuss the rural aspect versus the impact of the technology. Which do you feel has more of that ethical pull of what we need to consider? Being able to deliver to rural areas that may not have access to package delivery, or that impact of the drone? Like my back of the envelope calculation is these drones are expensive. They have a short life expectancy at 10 months, and yet we're attempting to charge $63 in communities that maybe aren't able to afford it.
So that $63 is not, I'm sorry that we did not make that clear, but the $63 is for the company.
Okay.
So as I mentioned, 95% of that cost is the company paying for the delivery of the drone flown to a home.
Okay.
That is a labor cost.
Okay.
So as I said, if it was one person operating multiple, that would greatly cut the $63. I think they're already implementing that, as I said, with the $484 delivery from 2021, and 2025 they're cutting that all the way down, and we're going to expect that to go even lower in the future.
Along with a more ethical analysis on that, currently Amazon actually does deliver to rural homes, but the reality is that it takes a lot of energy for a singular van carrying maybe 5 packages instead of 500 packages, such as in urban areas. And in that case, an actual delivery to rural areas using a van might actually be more costly than a drone, because a huge van carrying only 5 packages is not nearly as efficient as maybe a single drone carrying those 5 packages back and forth. So the 63, and Amazon usually shoulders those costs of $63. However, and of course, because it's rural areas, it actually might be less expensive. They usually shoulder those costs in order to, of course, preserve company reputation. And additionally, regarding privacy, a lot of the issues with privacy actually do kind of get solved with rural areas as well. There's far less fenced off area in rural areas to avoid, unlike suburban homes where basically everywhere you're driving is a fenced off area that's regarded as private property. You know, driving in rural areas, I mean, operating these drones in rural areas will decrease a lot of them. And I do also feel as if Amazon decides to scale back on their surveillance programs and their targeted ad programs, I do feel like they could make drones meet the possible potential that they could.
And where do you feel we stack up as a company at Amazon compared to, like, what potential threats do we have of other entrants? Be it, I mean, is DHL, is FedEx, is anyone else attempting to get ahead of us in this space, or will we be that first in line to kind of set the bar if we consider this route?
So Walmart is currently doing their own delivery drone system as well, but it's nowhere near as robust as Amazon's current drone system. Additionally, federal post offices and other purely delivery companies haven't really done research into drones. So Amazon really is pioneering drone delivery and could really introduce a solution to these rural areas that they really haven't met before.
And I think really in order to make the next step forward with this, as terms of legal goes, I feel like they are currently in the process of really trying to more so get around the legal limitations instead of adhering to them and changing their plan in order to match those legal issues. And so in order to, they want to move forward with these delivery drones, but I feel like with all the different legal implications that come with that process, if they were to slightly, change different aspects of their feature, it would allow them to do what they want to do as terms of using this as something where people get like packages delivered with delivery drones, but in a way that still meets all the different FAA regulations and everything like that.
Also, I would like to just say that you mentioned DHL. DHL had a drone service program that they started a year after you did in 2014, and they just ended it at the end of last year because it was too unprofitable within major cities.
I think it's also worth noting that you guys are the trailblazers of delivery, right? So because we feel Amazon's philosophy is directed in the wrong way, the delivery system in regards to drones as a whole is not there yet. And there's really a responsibility for Amazon to get drones out there.
In a ethical manner, of course.
In a great way.
So I have a couple questions. First of all, I'm not sure I agree with your statements on privacy. I mean, have you ever Googled yourself? I mean, you've got Google Maps. I mean, how much privacy do we really have in the U.S.? I mean, I only did that like a year ago, and I was like dumbfounded at that much information.
Imagine you currently already have this Google Maps privacy violation, but imagine if we included AI into this, where AI could read your patterns of purchasing, where AI could read if you have broken windows and send targeted, maybe even if hackers decided to get a hold of this, they could use this for malicious purposes as well. When you add AI into the, add AI into the component, it becomes even more even more of an issue than it was before. Yeah.
But it seems that the cookies are doing that now. I mean, everybody gets so many you look up something and then you get pop-ups trying to push products. So I'm not sure I understand where Amazon is doing something that different than what already exists. And that's one thing. And it's really that I don't know that Amazon is invading privacy any more than exists today.
I think it is. Oh, sorry.
And then my other question is I'm not sure I understand what you're asking Amazon to do as far as you have to spend money on development to provide innovation. So right. So how much are you asking? How much are you asking Amazon to cut back on development costs? I mean, in effect, this does that by, and I understand what you're saying about rural, and I think it was good that you provided the information on, how many packages for an electric car in a certain radius. But how much are you cutting back the development costs, asking Amazon to cut back in development costs, which could, affect innovation for the future?
Right, so I'm not saying to cut back on development costs necessarily. I mean, I know you already addressed this, but that was our idea of only sticking to rural areas because this would just have to be a long-term investment in order to slowly gain more money. And then as Marcus was saying, you're losing a lot more money by having a large truck go to rural areas than just having a quick and efficient drone. So we're only saying that it'll have to be a long-term investment, not necessarily fully cutting back on everything. But regarding your privacy issue, as Isabella said, it is fenced off, and then you said the Google Maps and people like other things like tracking your phone, you know. I genuinely think it is the main idea of, as she said, Western like ideas or ideologies, just like the belief of it is uncomfortable to have something flying over and just knowing that it's looking at you, looking at, like maybe even through your windows in
Right,
your
because
backyard.
there's a difference between like it effectively being the same versus consumers actually feeling the privacy invasion. Because
Perception.
right, perception is a big deal in
Right.
marketing
Perception
as well.
becomes
If
reality.
Amazon is known as that company that has drones monitoring your backyards, I don't think that could really be beneficial for their reputation. And additionally, regarding your investment questions, so the reason why rural areas are actually, so as technology gets better and better, we could actually possibly expand these drones into suburb areas. But the reason why rural areas are the perfect jumping point for Amazon is because there are far less legal issues that they have to deal with. Airspaces are far less prevalent in, and there are less privacy issues that they have to deal with. A lot of rural people are already dealing with issues with high cost delivery, and it could possibly scale back.
Because we also think, I feel like from a legal standpoint, it is a realistic way to, have your standpoint of, well, we still like have those privacy issues in other parts of our life, and to just like not utilize that technology. That's why we feel like first focusing on the rule to give it time to develop so it can meet those legal requirements, meet those FAA requirements, because when they have just started doing some first packages in Lockford, California, which is technically a rural area, they're already having many challenges with, as I stated earlier, as terms of having somebody have to observe from launch to landing, having to then notify everybody if there is any obstruction in terms of maybe a child or someone flying a kite or anything like that. So in an already rural area where we want to implement this, they need those time and those steps to find a way to make it more efficient on all ends. So then when they get those requirements and they meet those steps, then they will be able to implement this into other areas, because everything will have some privacy issues. When you have technology advancements, it's a given. You're not going to fully get rid of it as a whole legally. But in order to make it more of a realistic reality, is facing those privacy issues with actually having more regulations in place. Because as she mentioned, they only have one or two really specifying on privacy. And with that being such a big part of this.
They don't have any specifying on privacy. Yeah, there's one or two are considered what I think most Western consumers would consider actually violations of privacy with their surveillance program and their
but they're like
targeted ad
lacking in that area. But with all the legal aspects that come with privacy, instead of trying to get exemptions to currently move around those, I think it would be beneficial for Amazon to find a way to meet those requirements and create and put those in place for privacy. So although there is, yes, a chance of privacy being a concern, at least they're able to give that security to the people who want to use the service, that it's a more realistic level of privacy concern.
And just to make it really clear, our suggestion isn't to downsize the program, right? Moving to rural areas doesn't mean that the program should be smaller. It's just the current direction of the philosophy to do it in urban sessions at all. Like the other town is College Town, Texas.
Yeah, has a population of like
There's no reason that you
300,000.
guys should be experimenting in this town. There's too many hurdles. There's too much red tape, as we've outlined.
So I guess as a board member, and I'm hearing some of the challenges that you all shared with currently experiencing in where was it, Lockford, California, I guess, and expanding or suggesting to expand in rural areas. I'm just curious to know, or has there been any thought, or are we prepared from a warehouse standpoint? If we're limited to fly our drones in a certain destination or a distance, let's say, right? How populated or how ready are we in these rural areas to accommodate that? Or are we in a situation wherein we need to pop up warehouses, places, so that we can infuse this drone idea?
So current drone technologies have about a 6-mile radius outside of the hub, which probably isn't going to be enough to support rural areas quite yet. However, it seems like you guys have a projection to get at some point next year that radius up to about, I think it was like 20 miles, which would drastically increase the ability for drones to get to rural areas. So if your technology improves at the rate in which you say it will, then I believe you moving into rural areas will co-align with your improved technology.
And that increase in technology kind of touches on my colleagues here. I think question about development, right, and infusing more costs into development and innovation in that way. Thanks.
Hello. So I have a question. Remind me again what you see as the ethical issue here.
I feel like there are ethical issues with
Give me the top two.
privacy and sustainability.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the other question I have is, where did you get the numbers about the number of deliveries a driver in a van makes?
That was from a study done by Carnegie Mellon, the Robotics Institute, so the University in Pittsburgh. It was also a study that used a bunch of other literature from very prominent drone technicians.
Was it based on 2020
It
information
was
or
2022, sorry.
2022?
Yeah, last year.
Okay.
Okay.
August of 2022.
Okay.
The reason I ask is I know a couple people who work for us and deliver. And when you talk about 100 plus deliveries in there, are you talking about you don't mean that they're making 120 some stops?
No,
right?
no, of course. A lot of the times you are delivering multiple packages in one
Okay.
go. Yeah.
So currently, we can't do drones in the urban areas, particularly like a downtown setting, because we're only talking about dropping off one package at a time. I don't see how this is different from what we're already doing. We have drivers to send packages to the more urban areas. We can deliver to the suburbs because they're single-family homes. So what is the real innovation you have for us here?
So Amazon has made a lot of statements regarding their intentions to essentially have drones zipping through the skies of cities. Of course, you guys have clearly really high hopes for this technology, and you guys have released on your own website about Prime Air, about your intentions to move and having, College Station as one of your suburb, almost city-like areas for you to test your drone delivery capabilities. So I think that our solution is a little bit different from what you guys are proposing at the moment, because we're proposing that you guys focus more of your launching efforts in rural areas, while so far a lot of the articles that you guys have released kind of are talking about how College Station could become the next biggest drone hub of the decade. Yeah.
Last thing, have you guys considered the cost of recycling a battery in a van versus a drone? What we're trying to do is be not only efficient but effective in what we do by using our vans in the more urban settings and drones in the residential communities as well as rural areas. Have you thought about how that is actually is sustainable compared to doing urban and suburban in vans and only drones in rural areas?
Well, I think that from the calculation that I had done earlier, it would seem that on average, your more populated, denser population suburban areas should be better served by vans than your drones. I don't think we're necessarily putting a hard limit on where that line is between too dense versus too not. I think that continuing examination of calculations like the one that I did, where you look at exactly how far it would need to, how many packages a truck would need to take, and then limiting drones to areas that are outside of that area would be the most sustainable way to continue to go forward.
And of course, those calculations, they include the degradation of battery. They include replacement costs. They include a lot of stuff regarding that. So it's kind of all put into that little package that Marcus presented.
Just so you know, we're also working on ways to recharge batteries as opposed to burying them like people are doing presently.
So you said the vans would last 7 to 10 years. They could be used broken down and used by parts. And now you're talking about even having technology to recharge the batteries so that you don't have to worry about the burial concept.
Don't everybody agree with that too?
No.
And just to quickly comment on your first, how you guys are doing it now, not to be too blunt, but the very first attempt at delivery was this past December, and the first drone couldn't start up, and the second drone went through the programmed FAA regulations and it turned back around. And of course, all the FAA people started laughing because, to put it bluntly, again, the program is in a very dire situation, and it's existed for nearly a decade. So we think, especially looking at the initial motive in instituting the drones in general, it's too romantic. It's too out there. We have to
1 billion packages by 2025.
right. So that it's just a calm redirection because there's real use cases for drones, and College Station is not a town for you guys to continue to try to use this technology.
Yeah, because I think the goal is to want to implement this to as many places as possible while still considering all the aspects and making the most reasonable decision in terms of where we would use it, where we wouldn't implement it. But yeah.
Yeah, but there hasn't been a delivery yet.
There's been several deliveries.
So you're not telling us we can't do it. You're just saying to walk before we run.
Yeah.
Yes,
right,
yes,
exactly.
yes.
What do you think would be the biggest, to borrow some of Gil's words there, what would be the biggest downfall? We discussed so many positives. If we do take the run approach and try to just
I think it would be a lot of wasted money and a lot of lack in consumer trust.
Well, as I said, it was 4.98 trillion dollar loss in all of these homes, and then I said 4 trillion would be saved.
We also think it's important that Amazon, as such a lead company in today's modern world, takes seriously the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And I think that moving to urban areas or dense, highly populated suburban areas before your program is ready is flying in the face of that.
Well, we don't think that drones are a good solution for dense, highly populated areas either. Okay, so we agree on that. Okay.
Any other questions, Board of Directors?
I do have one other question. Speaking to the potential financial loss, is the fines for violating, I think it was the EU requirements, is that included in that loss calculation, or would that be on top
This
of?
is not even included in the loss
Right, so
calculation.
it could be much greater.
Yeah, and then I said my calculations was not regarding any maintenance fees. It was purely just building those amount of drones and then the delivery fee and then to 13 million homes a day.
So if we minimize the number of drones, that would reduce our costs, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
Now, don't you think the cost of our drones will decrease over time?
Right. So as I said in the beginning, we are, accounting for all of the decrease, and that's why I used the $63 delivery fee. That still hasn't happened. That's an anticipated cost in 2025. So as of now, we know it's $484 for deliveries, but you know, to account for future advancements, they're all going to drop. Like, everything is going to run more smoothly as you keep working on it. But
Right. The 63 delivery cost is also your
Amazon's cost.
Amazon's calculated costs. But of course, they might be optimistic, considering that they have been very optimistic about this program for over a decade now.
Yes. 2013, we were supposed to do it in 5 years.
Yeah.
We passed that deadline.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just have to contend that, of course, we eventually want urban deliveries, and I know you eventually want it too. But again, the actions so far in the past decade, at least
Too early.
it's too early, and it's just too out there.
I mean, we haven't legally even obtained our type certification from the FAA to use these drones. And there are already so many specific legal regulations when it comes to using them that without even a type certification, without like, they just released the exemption, the 81601, like that exemption, they just released that. And that still has heavy legal implications of where you can use it, how high up, all the different processes that are included in just a simple one delivery to a home. So.
Right, and I just mentioned that because if you don't think urbanized deliveries are a good idea, we wouldn't be experimenting in College Station, right? I think that's sort of the crux of it.
I think it really depends on the location. You know, you can't use drones efficiently in a high-rise building.
Yeah.
Unless you just dump everything in.
At the bottom. Maybe
Yeah, no,
you
you're
could work in the lobby, but at that point, just get a giant van to just dump them all for you, right?
There you go.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
This concludes the presentation time. And now identity's off. Now we can take a breath. You're finished. And now we'll just have some time for some Q&A. So you can ask us questions. We can give you feedback as we'd like to do on what we liked, any areas to potentially tweak as you prepare for your subsequent smaller presentation.
First, what was our presentation time?
Presentation time.
Presentation time, it clocked at 21:32. Yeah.
Would you say that it would have worked better if, you know, I mean, obviously it would have worked better if we put all of your questions into our presentation, but what do you think we could have added for more clarity, since it was kind of, you know, there were a lot of little details that we didn't really mention.
Reiterating.
Yeah.
Just like
Well, then what about this-
understanding. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the, I had written in my notes, who pays the $63? But then there was, and when you first mentioned it, and then later in the presentation, though, it became clear it was Amazon's cost and not
The consumer.
not the consumer. So you answered that. I thought the legal stuff was very well done. It's amazing. I think the EU does a much better job in like in protecting designers than we do. I mean, Italy and France are much better than the US. We're still refining wheat. I mean, I know Europeans who the only thing they'll eat here when they're in the States is rye bread and sourdough bread. Our wheat is not the wheat you get in
you know,
Europe.
the standards are much higher over there and
Mu-
regulated so much
Including
into
data.
detail.
Right.
Yeah.
Like a
Right.
2%.
Well, if you haven't traveled, you've never studied abroad, you've never interfaced with international companies, you grow up thinking the US is the best. And I still think it's the best place. But, you know, every country, in my opinion, has pluses and minuses. And there's some things, you know, we as US citizens need to improve upon. So it was I thought you were clear on the legal, you know, I wrote down airspace, privacy, and liability issues, and I thought you covered those pretty well. I mean, the FAA pretty much is going to have a stranglehold on Amazon, no matter what Amazon wants to do. So the information on the, you know, electric, the diesel, you know, that it was, let's see, diesel was 15 packages per kilometer, and the no, I got them. Let's see, I got them background wise. I had the electric and the diesel, but that's not stuff I knew. So I always learn stuff in these presentations. I thought that was very good. I thought your presentation skills were very good. I thought you fought for your points when we asked you questions. You
I
were
like
pretty
that
much,
too.
I'm pushing back on that,
Yeah.
which is good. You know, I think, you know, confidence is, I think, key in proving points. I think you can be confident with something that's not factual and people will believe it, you know. So I thought that was good. Everybody had good eye contact, no one looking at the floor or anything like that. So I thought you did very well on that.
Yeah, I really appreciated all of the data points. I could tell you spent a lot of time getting the facts together and getting your arguments together, and that really helped your presentation a lot. I really appreciated the visual component too, to just mix it up with a media clip. So we heard the voice of who would be our oversight as the board of directors, knowing this was the position, that's where we were, but this is where you're taking it now. So that was very valuable too, kind of building your argument.
Yeah, and I like the KISS principle, keep it simple. I think, you know, I think it was you that stated, we're not asking you to, or you all did it in different ways, that we're not asking you to curtail investment. We're just asking you to slow it down. That right now it doesn't make sense. And by the way, like you pointed out, you know, they've had 2 test cases and they crashed and burned. So why spend the money until you perfect it?
The technology.
Yeah, the technology. I think we're way off. I think we all thought, you know, driverless cars would be a lot faster than it is. So I understood the points, and I
Amazon's
thought
very optimistic about their technology. Very
Yeah.
optimistic about their technology.
Yeah.
5G is changing everything. You know, I noticed that your graphics were good.
Yeah.
And what I liked was that they weren't busy. You would show 1 or 2 items at a time, and I couldn't get ahead of you. Typically, if you got a lot of stuff on the slide, people stop listening to you, and they start reading the slide. The only area that I think you could improve on, and I'm not saying that it wasn't already good, was on the financials, because when you started running numbers, talking about numbers, you know, I'm an investment banker, and I wanted to see the numbers. And I don't know how you arrived at some of those numbers, okay?
So actually, in my presentation, I was gonna go through how I calculated everything, but then at the very last minute, we thought we would just cut it out.
Because time. Yeah.
But
Yeah, we didn't
not just that, it's that like it would like we thought it would complicate, but
I'm not saying that you
yeah.
had to do a whole balance sheet.
No, I was just gonna say like for like this is how I calculated this so that for like the future calculation it would be a lot more simple, and it was like a quick thing, but
You know,
could you summarize it in a slide with bullet points? I guess.
yeah,
Or
it was. I
show
just
a few
took
numbers.
it out, so
Yeah.
yeah.
You know,
it
when you
was-
just started talking about the losses that we were going to take, that was staggering, and I wanted to know how to get there. You know.
I promise it was like 30 minutes before this. Someone told me to take it out, but it was
Know your audience, right?
yeah.
We know the value of it for sure. I feel like it because you want to understand like how we got those numbers to see like what could be changed to either improve those numbers or what would need to happen if like what would be the cause if the numbers went down. So definitely like an important aspect.
If you want like a little, it was mostly just like the average cost multiplied by deliveries done over time and projected deliveries over time, and we kind of multiplied that all together, and you get one big loss.
I'm not asking the question, and hopefully we find out later. But there's 5 of you. It says 3 of you are freshmen, one's a sophomore, one's a junior, one's an econ major, the rest are psychology and philosophy. I think You know, I
You're
thought,
doing good.
Yeah.
gee, I wonder what their presentation is going to be like,
Yeah.
because everybody's been business majors.
Yeah.
You guys just blew me away. I mean, obviously, and I don't know why I'm doubting Thomas, because I was a liberal arts major, and then I got my MBA because I had never taken a finance course, and people are talking about internal rates of return and present value, and I'm going, oh, maybe I better go take a class.
Who's
And-
the econ major?
I am the econ
Very
major
surprised.
actually. So she did finance actually, and her she has experience with finance, of course, but you know she's more interested in psychology, so that's why she's pursuing it. Like Val,
Yeah.
great job. On the,
Yeah.
Great job on the.
Thanks.
Let me tell you something. It was so impressive that you guys didn't come back out of, business degrees. Economics is kind of. But-
I'm also double majoring philosophy, so.
You are. Anyway, okay. Well, I'm dying to see which school you come from in the end. In the end. I'm not asking now.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was going, wow, I wonder what kind of presentation that's going to be. And so I'm telling you, very impressive.
Yes,
Thank you.
and thank you, Gail, for pointing that out. That's really, really solid point, especially with you all going against, I guess, the wishes, if you will, of Jeff Bezos and us at Amazon, and our ambition and what it is that we want to do, and kind of highlighting and pointing out we should crawl before we run, and bringing all of the reasons why, and with that financial presentation and piece, and the legal piece, and all of those things, and with that not necessarily being your educational background in college, but still standing firm and explaining and knowing and understanding your why really does explain or display the research and the understanding that you all have of this. And you don't necessarily need to have that classroom experience to understand the concept and what it is that you're trying to explain. So kudos on that. That was very
I think
good.
I would like to say a lot of us had classroom experience in finance, and then we got drawn to philosophy, and we got drawn to.
I mean, I didn't
Yeah.
really have.
I just went straight philosophy.
Yeah. Well, I was full blown econ major, and then I took philosophy classes, and I was like, wow, I'm going to double major in this at the very least.
But I think things like this, it's so cool because even if you might not be majoring in it, but you're really drawn to a specific area, it allows you to learn so much about that's I'm a philosophy major, but I love legal and I want my future career to be in the legal space. So I find ways that it does connect, and then learn ways that it's so different, and just how they all piece together. Although I might not be majoring in something as legal necessarily as undergrad, but just the ways that they mesh and connect and can expand on each other.
Well, I was a business major in undergraduate school, and as a sophomore, I can tell you, I wouldn't have been able to put together what you guys did. So it's a credit to you guys as well as your advisor. And what you ought to do is make sure you buy them some coffee. You did good. These are complicated issues, and it's the kind of thing that we're happy to see you thinking about now. For most of us, we've had pretty good careers, and some of us are in the twilight of our stuff.
He and I, we actually went to school together.
That's right. And this is before I became a blonde.
Me too.
But you guys keep at this. It's young people who change the world. Swear to God. Think about it. Go back as far in history as you want. Alexander the Great conquered the known world. When he was 21 years old. Martin Luther King changed the world, and he was still in his 30s. You guys you have the ability to make a difference in the world. Just listen, and then talk.
We had to listen because he and I, try and think of this. It's going to blow your mind. When we were in school, no computers, no cell phones, no fax machines. I came out as a banker, and we had to do it all by hand. If it didn't balance, you better just start all over again and figure out where you made your mistake. So the technology, what we've seen technology change, And I usually don't admit this stuff because then you can guess my age. I made them, let me tell you something, you
Ask
don't
her
know
if she
this.
did her papers on the typewriter.
No. So I made them take off my year of graduation. I said, if I wanted to announce my age all the time at every meeting, I would. So I made them take off my year of graduation because you guys could be my grandchildren. Anyway,
Just
so
aim high.
that's
Yeah.
right. You did a great job in proving the point that you don't have to be a business major to handle a business situation. I wasn't. I was, as I told you, liberal arts undergrad. So anyway, you did a very good job.
I
Very
only had one
impressive.
little note of feedback at the end, and that was just in thinking of that narrative of who we are and who you are, and because you're sharing that video and almost giving us what you shouldn't do. This is where your CEO has stated his intentions are. But since the Amazon Board of Directors hired to see something where it kind of links it into, even though this is the position that Amazon held, we've been hired to explore that. Is this still the viable option or not? And then it's, oh, we're recommending rural only, so that we know it's not, oh, well, we are Amazon, so you're sharing something with us that is, so just kind of would link it a little, thread it a
Yeah,
little bit.
so I guess like we broke the fourth wall a little bit by explaining to you what Amazon was doing. I guess we didn't I guess in the presentation sometimes we treated like you were listening to learning about Amazon rather than you were Amazon itself.
And I think we could.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be a little more comedic. I was a little nervous, but like he's just laughing.
Yeah.
Like I want to have something that outlives myself. That's what.
Yeah.
Not to flame your
Truly
boss.
divine.
Yeah.
It's like
But we know he's hard to get in our, he doesn't come to our board meetings. He's too busy with Lauren Sanchez on a trip. We're like, come on,
Yeah.
we have decisions to make around here.
Right. Yeah. And I guess
Girlfriend excuse again. Oh, there you go.
we thought that clip did a good job. It's like his head is in the clouds here, and this was, and then the date too, 2013.
That's exactly what I was thinking. He's
Yeah.
probably been distracted by
Yeah.
it.
Right, and that
10
was a
years
decade
later,
ago.
drugs
Yeah.
are just crashing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Psychology.
So, I mean, the other thing is, we get handed the role in this meeting. We have a one-page executive summary, but it doesn't mean I didn't go and research Amazon before I came in today.
No.
So,
I thought you were like working for Amazon.
You're good.
Wait, I thought you guys were the board of directors.
No, like your actual real life. It's like, oh no.
That's what
Just
pretty hard. Like we had
just a lot,
We
just a
hope
lot
you
of
wouldn't have to
experience.
research your own company.
Yeah, true.
Great.
Actually, guys, you guys said the $63 cost.
So,
All right.
very good.
Very good. Good luck with the rest of your, thanks for your time today.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Thank you so
coming in,
much.
and good luck with the rest of the presentation time.
Thank you very much for your
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
All right.
Thank you guys.
Oh my
You're on
God, I have a
schedule,
meeting
yeah.
at 2:30. I gotta
Oh,
break
yeah, you
fast.
have
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks.
I'm still not sure what the ethical issue is.
Yeah, I think that's why that first poll in the first question, I was like, is it privacy or is it,
Well,
or is
they,
it being able to, have a more sustainable delivery? Where, oh,
they said it was privacy.
yeah.
Well, those are the legal issues, right?
Yeah,
Airspace, privacy, and liability issues.
Right.
But I saw that the ethical issue as being privacy, that they didn't want people in their backyard spying on them, noticing that they had a broken window and pushing, product to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. Not so sure.
And then it
That
was-
on the report.
To be honest with you, I like this to me, the top one for me, out of the four.
The fact that nobody was a business major is pretty
Yeah.
impressive.
Yeah, it was, but I don't think we can give weight to that, but.
Did you need us?
after he's done.
Oh, gotcha.
Me?
Okay, okay, that's
Was
fine.
it something I said?
No,
Oh.
after you're done, I'm just so sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no, that's okay.
I'm done. Hang on, you want to go outside?
No, you're totally fine. You judged this presentation today morning.
Oh, wait, hold on.
I'm just wondering that.
Hold on, we need to change this.
I like that this one had very real, like present day use cases.
And this wasn't marked, so I was just
Top
wondering. Of course, any comments?
No, it's good. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Uh-huh. So you took the year of graduation off, huh?
I did. I made them do it throughout. They can't publish it anywhere
You know, years,
in school. It'll probably be on
yeah.
on our in our reunion, but that's okay.
I
But I was going to a lot of presentations. No, really, most of the people could be my grandkids, you know. But I had a kid 3 weeks before I turned 43, so my daughter just turned 29.
Well, my son just turned 40. Well, he will turn 43 this year. I was 29. I saw Dean Gelman. I see Dean all the time.
Oh,
You
do
remember-
you do?
yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember Dean now.
Mario's living somewhere in the high desert.
Get them to come to the reunion. It would be fun.
I just sent an email to, remember Rich Chavez?
Yes, yeah.
Chavez contacted me and showed me the thing that he'd received from the alumni affairs about the reunion. I didn't receive anything.
They probably don't have a current email address for you.
Probably. So I sent a little note to Lisa Piametti saying I realized that I'm not on the first team, but I would at least thought that I was a good something.
Oh, right. They're bragging about you being an ambassador, and yet they don't have your email. What's up with that?
So someone, Lisa had someone contact me, and I sent that email to Dean, Mario, and Tony Parent.
Tony who?
Parent. You probably don't remember Tony.
I don't remember him.
He didn't live on campus. Tony was a history major. He then got his PhD at UCLA, and now is a he played football with us. He's a full professor at Wake Forest and talking about retiring next year. He's on his 4th book. You know, our class did okay. Okay.
I have to laugh. I still remember I took that international management course with you. And I forgot our teacher's name. I can picture him. I used to call him Beautiful Blue Eyes, and he could turn all red.
Oh.
And there was some case study we had, and I remember you. Raise your hand. Does the black guy always have to be the gay guy or the guy that drowned? I forgot what your point was, but I remember you raising your hand. Come on.
I don't even remember.
Oh, I remember.
I remember there was a priest who I took a class with. This was doing, was that football thing. And
Thank you.
I don't think he was a Jesuit, but it was maybe a 5 o'clock class or a 6 o'clock class or something. And he apparently had started happy hour early. And he ended up having to stop the class and leave.
Wow.
Yeah.
There was a few priests that I would say were alcoholics.
Do you remember Father Higgins?
Oh, absolutely.
God,
You know, he was remember how he was a dealer during the summer? This guy was fabulous. He had a little booth, you know, a peanuts booth, you know, advice, 5 cents. And he would play bocce ball, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, he, with was it Father Draper?
I-
That had the Red Baron outfit, a Red Baron cap and a red suit. I mean, we had some.
They used to have the Las Vegas nights here, remember?
Yeah, and they went to frat parties. We danced with them. It was
Father
It was-
Merrifield, Father
was great.
Merrifield worked to raise money from this woman who was a multi-millionaire. And she used to like to go to Vegas, and she would take him, she would always have a driver, and they'd go to Vegas together. And I think when she passed away, she went to school like $46 million. He ended up with a huge picture of her in his office.
Amazing.
And my spiritual director.
You know, it only takes like, my daughter went to a grade school that it was all parents, no more nuns left. And then she went to a high school where there were 2 nuns. But that drives a whole different feeling. And I think it's a loss not to be able to have all the Jesuits and the nuns. I mean, there were so many special people that were so influential in so many kids' lives. You know, it's.
No, you don't know this about me, but
Don't tell me you were going to be a priest one.
I was.
What? You was?
When I graduated from 8th grade in New Orleans.
Yeah, it had to be in 8th grade because by the time you got to college, all the women were after you. Give me a break.
I was just a guy.
Oh, yeah, you're a
Quiet
star
little
football
guy.
player. And, yeah, you're always a handsome man. You still are.
I spent so much time in the principal's office that I learned how to run the mimeograph machine. So when my mother heard about this at the PTA meeting, she was not happy about this, particularly because on my report card on one side it would have conduct and all that kind of stuff. And there was this one section that was, it said, waste time and annoys others. It was always checked. So I get accepted into the seminary. And now the principal and I are good friends because I spent so much time in her office. And it's at lunchtime, I go up to her and I said, Mother, her name was Mother Florence Marie. I said, Mother, you know, I've been accepted to the seminary. And she was standing on a little platform and she looked down at me and she was holding a bell that used to ring. She was holding this bell. She looked down at me and then looked up and she said, God help the Catholic Church.
Oh.
But those 3 years in the seminary made quite a difference in my life. Well, it's been a little slice of heaven, everybody. Gail, I'm going to see you in June.
Right, you sure are.
Well,
thank you for volunteering.
Pleasure to meet you, Steve.
So,
I'll see you some more.
so they have your email stuff now?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm going to check to be sure later on.
Yeah, get the rest of the guys coming.
You know,
It's
at some
more
point-
fun, more the merrier.
Maybe next year when I teach leadership again, I'm going to have you talk to my class.
Sure, anytime.
Very nice to meet you. Thank you.
All right, you guys
Have a good
enjoy
night.
your evening.
Thank you.
All right. You know what? I gave these people the least
So-
feedback. I feel bad.
What do you think?
Because I've been,
Yeah, now
I
it's
finished
like,
so
I
late.
don't think, yeah, I'll check
You don't
with
think the
Jeff down-
feedback,
I don't think that I don't know that they get it. Because ultimately, I think either by tomorrow, or I'll check with Jeff on my way out. Jenna, you said you have 2:30.
yeah,
I'll ask him
Dale.
just like, when do we have to decide? Because I inferred that it's like senior judges decide a first place and runner-up on, I don't know if it's by end of day today or when there's a little bit of, doesn't feel as organized as some other years. But I'm like, now I'm
Yeah.
thinking like if we have to deliver based on our, but I would think we need those numbers that the students are tallying up. They get all of these, and by the end of the day tonight, we kind of see how their feedback rolls in and if we're aligned to other judges that scored too. So it's not just us. We aren't on an island without their input.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not gonna have this to look back to
Yeah.
my notes though, because, well,
Yeah.
No, I took notes on this. It's okay.
Are you sure you don't? You can keep.
You don't think we have to turn
I
these
don't
in
know
yet?
that we. I don't know
Or
that we
tomorrow?
do. Well, they do need to score by the tally. They have someone behind the scenes that Jeff said is going to score tonight and input everything into tallies. But if
Well-
we don't have to make any decisions on final.